Deconverted man here. I'm not being hyperbolic. William Craig is evil. William Lane Craig is evil. He's an evil man. He's an evil, vile man. And he's repugnant and nasty and wrong. And should be shunned at every opportunity and turn. Also, his argument sucks. So, yes, he is an evil, vile, terrible human being. But that is wholly independent from his broken ass argument, which also is not been lowered far enough. Remember, William Lane Craig has said to lower the bar, lower that bar on evidence requiring, because if it's even remotely possible that his version of God is correct, then you should just give up and believe that. Even if it's a 0.001%, that's enough. Not sure how you get that percentage. Anyways, so here's good old. No, he's not good. He's evil old William Lane Craig, spouting nonsense and being evil. All right, here he is.
With the existence of God. And now on the contemporary scene, this has really changed. Virtually no one defends the logical version of the problem of evil anymore. And the reason is that it lays upon the shoulders of the atheist a burden of proof that is so heavy that no one has been able to sustain it. The atheist would have to prove that there is no logically possible reason that God could have for permitting the evil and suffering in the world.
See? Told you William Lane Craig was evil. Trying to justify evil to get to good is evil. It is evil thinking. It is short-sighted, nasty, vile, disgustingly bankrupt in morality, evil. You, William Lane Craig, are an evil person. Shame on you. Also, it's remarkably easy to demonstrate what you said, but it's an interesting shifting of the burden of proof that you're attempting. Oh, nobody, or hardly anybody, defends position X. Who cares how many people defend it or not? Does that make position X true or false? It has zero to do with anything how many people defend or don't defend any given position. So this is an entirely baseless red herring. Off into the weeds we go of, gee, is anyone defending this idea anymore? How many Christians are willing to defend the virgin birth of Jesus Christ? William Lane Craig, will you defend the virgin birth of Jesus Christ? How can you demonstrate that Mary was a virgin when she gave birth to Jesus? Can you demonstrate that using scriptural textual analysis, using all of the scholars that exist, find a consensuary agreement in scholarship, in biblical scholarship, because I have to give him the Bible because there would be zero way to corroborate this story otherwise, because the story of Mary and Jesus only appears in the Bible. No one else mentions this at all. So, William Lane Craig, I dare you to defend the logical position that Mary is a virgin when she gives birth to Jesus. And if you can't do that, then that must mean that no one can, no one will, and thus that idea must be thrown away because nobody's defending it. Or is that up to me to defend because I've claimed that Mary wasn't a virgin? Of course, it seems rather silly to claim that any virgin could give birth because there are seemingly zero examples of that happening. However, I'm a scientifically knowledgeable human and I understand a little about biology, and I could come up with a hypothetical way that a virgin woman could, in fact, gain pregnancy. But it would require scientific intervention. We would have to fertilize the egg in her by some artificial methodology. And once we've done that, then congratulations. A virgin birth is entirely possible. We could even do it with mediocre technology. We don't have to necessarily get semen from a donor, store it, defrost it, ready it, and implant it into the woman to make her pregnant to have virgin births, which, yeah, that's something we can do and probably have done. But you could, in again, hypothetically, you could get some semen onto an object and have that object be placed in the vaginal canal, and the sperm might drip from that object into the canal and seed, meet up with the egg and produce an offspring. So, it is hypothetically plausible that Joseph was masturbating near Mary's hairbrush, got some of his juice onto it, and he left, and she decided to pleasure herself with that hairbrush, stuck it in herself, had her way with the hairbrush, and later on, oh my word, I am pregnant. I don't know how that happened. It's gotta be a miracle, Joseph. What's going on? There's no guys around here but you, and we know that we didn't have sex. So it's a miracle. So there you go. There's a way that a virgin could have given birth that I've supported. Now, would you be willing to support that notion that's at least hypothetically possible? Or do you need it to be supernatural in order for it to matter? That is, the idea that Virgin Mary has to be virginal in that she didn't put anything into her cooch. Nothing entered her box. She couldn't have masturbated. She must have been a pure girl. Or maybe you're like, hey, the idea that Mary's a virgin, the Bible actually says young woman. So it's almost like the church invented the idea of virgin way later, and it came to be that, even though that's not what it originally said. And every single biblical scholar that exists that's worth anything would agree with that you can't really find Mary being a virgin in the text itself. Thus, you wouldn't want to defend that position in the first place, William Lane Craig. Could that be it? That the argument is so malformed and so impossible that defending it would be a fool's errand. Does that make the conclusion wrong, William Lane Craig? Okay, so having lamented on all of that, and my point being that defending or not defending any given proposition does not make that proposition false or non false. It's simply irrelevant. The idea that you could hypothetically justify evil as long as you get to something good eventually is, in my view, evil. We humans are limited creatures. So I can grant that there are things that we might do that someone could perceive as evil, but we do it to get to a good. Now, of course, the problem is, what the bleep is evil? That's a big problem right there. What does the word evil mean? Because when I say it, I have an idea of evil in my head. When William Lane Craig says evil, he has an idea of what that means in his head. Johnny Drive-By has an idea of what evil means in his head. And he says he doesn't think anyone can pin down the definition of evil, but it disgusts him quite a bit. So things that disgust you, you might find evil. Well, pinning down a definition is extraordinarily difficult because natural language refuses to do it. The best that you could hope to do as a logician, which Craig isn't, would be to assemble all the dictionaries and say, okay, what do they think evil is? And we're going to compare and contrast those definitions of evil and see if there's a common theme. Hell, let's go further. Let's poll as many humans as we can and ask them the open question, what is evil? Then we'll get all that data and we'll see what matches of that data. And we'll put all of that information together and whittle it down to an average mean of what this word means to the most amount of people. Ultimately, though, we have to accept that we're skirting really close to an appeal to definition. And an appeal to definition is, of course, a logical fallacy. It's also known in the argument from dictionary. So, here's one definition of that argument or of that fallacy. It occurs when someone's argument is based on the definition of the term as it appears in a dictionary alone. So if your whole argument is, hey, Webster's dictionary defines this word in this way, therefore that's what that word is, the argument is fallacious. Dictionaries are descriptive, not prescriptive. So this is how people use the language, not necessarily what the thing actually is. And that might not be how people are using that word in reality. And dictionaries are somewhat static. Now, of course, we have online dictionaries which can be updated more frequently, but then, of course, you get the problem of, well, some troll could come along and change it or whatever, and so, is it reliable or what? And so natural language is just a son of a bitch that refuses to be pinned down because words are weird. So, what is natural language? I have to go into that a bit. Well, that's the language we're using no matter what language you're speaking, you are in a natural language. You're in a language that has evolved through time, has many imperfections, has borrowed words and concepts from other languages, and whose syntax and grammar is a nightmare to wade through, and whose spelling probably makes no coherent sense. There are three twos. That is a correct statement. There are three twos. There's two, two, and two. And without printing those out and any context, you have no idea which two I'm referring to. Except there, you knew which two I said because I said two at the end, which indicates something, so some grammar person could come along and figure out what the bleep I'm talking about, because bleep if I know. Natural language has multiple meanings to one given word. Love. There's many ways to use that word. Now, of course, the Greeks were maybe a bit wiser in that they had several words for the same concept. This is headed towards a closer to what I would call an artificial language. The ideal artificial language would be one where every word has one and only one meaning. Now, the perhaps impossibility is that after you went through the work of making such a language, you then have to do it again using only the language itself to describe itself. Because the only way that you can describe words is with other words. It's like trying to describe a feeling without mentioning other feelings. It's not gonna work. You can't do it. It's just something that's it's an impossible project. So you might come close to an artificial language of some sort, but a true artificial language where every word means only one thing, and then you go and use that newly established language on itself, I don't know that that's possible. Nobody's done it that I'm aware of. And if anyone does, I'm sure they'll win some sort of prize for it, or I would submit they should. And whether or not we could actually use that language is another question as well. But imagine that every word that I'm now uttering had only one meaning to it, so that there was no chance that you could mistake my meaning when you read something I wrote, for example. And think of that. On the internet, emojis were really early to come along. Somebody was like, hey, look, we might want to like introduce this. Like, how do you know I'm joking unless because you can't hear me? So when I type, you suck, and I meant it, how do I mean that? I'm like, you suck. Well, it seems like I'm saying you suck, but I meant like, you suck. Come on. I meant it like, joking. So I need a little smiley face so that I'm not being serious. I'm saying it in a jovial manner. Without that context clue, you might mistake this. But even with the damn smiley face, you might not understand it. So maybe, I do something like this where I go, you suck. I put a smiley face, and then I add on J/K, which means just kidding, so that you know what the, uh-oh, having internet problems. Oh, that's not good. Nope, am I? It said I am. Testing, am I still here? Oh, the internet. Why? The internet says I'm having internet connection issues. No? No, it's here. Okay. I don't know. There we go. Okay. So the point is there ideally would be a way that I could type "you suck" in a jovial way without adding on to it. So, hold on. There. Nope. I keep typing the wrong thing. Okay. So, in an artificial language that we're pretending that exists, I might say "you escroy," and that means you suck. Just kidding. But it's a word that just means "suck." Just kidding. So that you know I'm playfully bantering with you, but you suck. Come on. You know, I can't. You pwned me in that game. You won. Yeah, you suck. Yeah, but I'm not. I'm not trying to hurt you by that word. I'm saying it exasperated. I'm joking. We're jovial. We're friendly, and so the word SJK becomes a artificial word that we've developed that means suck in a jovial way. And that's all it ever means. It doesn't mean anything else. It can't mean anything else. That would be an artificial language example. Okay, so what the hell does the word evil mean? A long way to get from that to that, but I had to go through that because this is a undealt with problem. And I get a phone call in the middle of my thing. I'm in the middle of a thing. Yes, what? Okay, got it. Bye. All right, that was really important. Okay, there's a container I gotta put in a freezer. Whatever. Anyways, so live television. What are you gonna do? Live television? What? Um. All right, so I don't care. I'm still going. I'm not gonna redo this. Fuck it. Whatever. I'm not redoing this from the start. This is good. I'm good. I'm fine. William Lane Craig is evil. I said that, right? So what do I mean by evil? And I can only do is tell you what I mean by it. I can't tell you what you mean by it. And you might say, Dickford man, your version is not my version. Probably not. You might say your version of that word sucks. I don't like it at all. I'll never use your fine. But at least you'll know where I'm coming from. So, evil equals anything that causes one causes suffering that is unnecessary. Okay, well now I've gone and done it because now I've introduced two other words I have to fucking define. What do I mean by suffering and unnecessary? Okay, suffering, pain. Okay, we know what pain is, hopefully. If you pinch your own arm and until you go ow, and you do it until you can't do it anymore because doing it just hurts and you don't like that sensation. You go, okay, I didn't like pinching my own arm. That is pain, and it was kind of unnecessary for you to do it, other than to understand where I'm coming from when I say the word pain. And so that suffering was necessary in the sense of if you, for whatever reason, didn't know what I meant by pain, I'm now saying I need you to perform this action in order to understand what I mean by the word pain. So there was a necessary component if that was the condition. However, if you understood what the word pain was without having to pinch your arm, then pinching your arm would not be necessary for you to understand the concept of pain because you've experienced pain in the past and you know what I'm talking about. All right. So, suffering, pain, anything that is causing that is unnecessary, as in it didn't need to happen. We didn't need for you to pinch your arm because you knew full well what the word pain was and is and what I mean by it and what we, broadly speaking, mean by it. It means to experience that sensation of ow, kick your foot against the wall accidentally and stub your toe, or man, hit your nail with something hard like a hammer, the nail on your finger. That really is like, and it just hurt. It hurts. And how do you describe that other than ow? So that was, you have you ever slammed your fingers in a door? Oh, that's not good. If you're a male and you've ever zipped your pants up in a way that you caught something that might be down there, you know what true pain is. And you stop everything that you were doing doesn't matter anymore. Whatever it was that you were about to do, whatever plans you had, none of that matters in that moment. Right now, all you can think is, get it out, get it out, get it out. I can stop. I'll do anything to stop this. And it was completely unnecessary. Your pants didn't have to do that to you. So you unzip, you get your piece of skin uncut, and it's bleeding. I gotta get a band-aid on that. You know how hard it is to put a band-aid on that thing. Now, if you're a woman, I don't know what would be comparable for a woman because I'm a man. I don't know. The only thing I can think of is you put a clothespin on your boob, but that might actually give you pleasure. So I don't know. But regardless, unneeded pain is what I would call unnecessary suffering, and that would be my version of the word evil. So by the word evil, I'm saving myself and you the time and trouble of saying unnecessary pain every single time. So instead of saying unnecessary pain, I'm going to say evil. Okay. All right. Okay. Whew. Okay, now, whether you agree with my definition of evil or not, that's fine. But you now understand, hopefully, where I'm coming from. When I say the word evil, I mean unnecessary suffering, unnecessary pain. Okay, great. So, unnecessary pain. Let's just leave it at that, maybe. Okay. Well, by its own definition of the words I've just labored over to make sure that we're all clear on what I mean by unnecessary pain, the word unnecessary already means that there is zero way, logically speaking, that we could ever make it necessary because it's not necessary. If it was necessary, we wouldn't call it unnecessary. So if there's any unnecessary pain, then by evil, I mean that there are things that happen that didn't need to happen. And that there cannot logically be a justification for it because it didn't have to happen. There you go, Craig. I did the thing that you said that we wouldn't do. Fuck you, you evil piece of shit. Also, your argument sucks ass, and I don't want to look at you or listen to you anymore. I don't want to really listen to the rest of his video. I don't want to hear him try to justify how evil could become good. I just don't. It pisses me off. Irritates me. I might do it anyways for comic effect. I might start playing the video and react to it. Okay. So, when I say Craig is evil, then I'm saying Craig is unnecessary pain. Yeah. Listening to him has caused me emotional pain. Well, maybe there was a necessary component to it, though. Because by sharing that pain, I've decreased the pain that I have to some extent. I'm inflicting that pain upon others, and at least they are suffering with me, and that's something. And maybe we're learning something because of all this. But were I God and had powers that no mere mortal has, let's just say I don't have to even be God. Let's just put me at a place of authority where I could do things that you wouldn't normally get away with. I could just I don't know. Well, you've given me unlimited power. Now what? Well, I don't know. I could imprison Craig, and we'll never hear from him again. Let's just say that. Okay, he's gonna have a good life. Don't worry about it. We'll feed him. He'll have a nice place to run around, a nice yard or whatever. It'll be a nice little garden type of area, but it like an island. We'll get him a fucking island. We'll put him and whoever else he wants there with him. Get him books and stuff to watch, entertainment, whatever. But he won't have the internet. He won't be able to contact the outside world. So, other than that, whatever. And I mean, if he tries to escape the island, he probably will get himself killed because we put some mines around the island or something like that. But he knows that the mines are there. Okay, so yes, he's in jail, but it's the nicest jail that we could make. Okay, it's a pretty big jail. It's a giant island, and he has a house on it. Like he could have a mansion-sized house, and the island's not barely occupied because a lot of it, is nature and stuff, and there's facilities for medics or whatever. I don't know, if he needs it or. But nonetheless, we never hear from him again. Nobody ever has to hear from him again. Online. Okay, so I put him there. Why? Because I could. Because I'm sick of him. I don't want to see him. I don't want to hear from him anymore. And I just had the power to do that. Now, that doesn't negate any of his arguments, but I have all this imaginary power. So I take all his website, and I make that unavailable to everybody. I take all his books, and they're all gone. They've been deleted off the earth. Maybe they are saved on that island, but nobody has access to them anymore. So everything that he's ever said in his entire life essentially is restricted to your memory. But again, I'm very powerful. So I order that we figure out a way to erase all of our memory of this person. And so now, not including myself, nobody remembers William Lane Craig except for himself and whoever he has on that island, which we've also now forgotten about. So that could be a problem for him later, but again, we'll provide him medical supplies somehow. We'll just say, hey, look, we don't know why we're doing this. We're just going to have a standing order. Medical supplies are dropped at this location at this time. You don't know why. We don't know why. It's top secret classified. There you go. Can't ask questions about it. And the rest of us just forget about William Lane Craig. He doesn't exist. All his writings, all his statements, all his things, poof, gone. It's like he never existed, right? Now, are we relieved of the suffering that he caused us? Yeah, because we don't know about it anymore. So it doesn't really like it still happened, but we don't know about it. So in a way, we're free of that suffering. Did that justify it during the time of the suffering? The fact that I was able to remove him from all of reality as far as we're concerned, does that justify that he was allowed to make us suffer at all? No, it does not. Because to say that, look, I torture you for 5 days in a row, but at the end of it, I erase your memory of that torture. Does that justify the torture? No, it doesn't justify. Just because you don't remember it, that doesn't mean it didn't happen. I didn't need to inflict that pain on you. And while you were experiencing it, you did not enjoy it. So that's unneeded. And whatever I do to make up for it later cannot justify the fact that it is happening now. Logically speaking, there is no excuse for a being that has that sort of power, or even more power than what I've described, to allow and or inflict unnecessary pain upon any creature, period. End of story. Thank you very much. By its definition that I've given it, it is impossible to justify. Removing it from existence doesn't negate it, because it happened. The only way would be is if it never existed in the first place. If William Lane Craig didn't ever exist in the first place, then this video wouldn't exist, obviously. Some other video would instead, but this one wouldn't. No one would have had to spend time, energy, and effort to refute William Lane Craig. No one would have suffered from William Lane Craig. Wait, somebody says, but William Lane Craig isn't all evil. He's done some good. He has a family. I'm sure he's treated that family well. I'm sure he's a loving dad, and he has kids, and I'm sure he loves them and is taking care of those people at least. Yeah, you're probably right. You're probably right. He's probably very much a loving husband and good father. I think he is. I don't know if I think he is, but anyway, I think he's married. That is, I don't know. Now I have to look up if William Lane Craig is married. Damn it. Is he? He doesn't talk. Yeah, it's Jan Craig. He doesn't talk about his wife or kids that much. Okay, anyways. Which might go to show how much he actually loves them. But nonetheless, okay. Well, doesn't that good that he has produced in the world justify, to some extent, the evil that he has also produced in the world? And as a human without all these insane powers, I go, yeah, I don't know, not real, kind of. It's hard to weigh, like, the good that he's done, does it outweigh the bad? I don't know. If I was to put those on a scale, how would that, with the things that he's done that are good for his friends, family, etc., would that outweigh the bad stuff that he has produced? It might indeed outweigh it. But that doesn't justify it. It cannot justify it, because that stuff is still bad. And in an ideal universe, that bad stuff wouldn't exist. So we wouldn't need that scale at all. That no human or creature could do unnecessary pain would be the idealized universe. The idealized reality would be one where nothing, no one can cause unnecessary pain ever, because it's unnecessary. So why allow it to exist at all? And to say, well, it has to exist in order for this other thing to be good is evil. Because you're saying that that thing isn't, in fact, actually evil. It's actually needed. So it's not unnecessarily evil. It is necessarily evil. It is a necessary evil that that brings about this good thing. No. Then it's not unnecessarily evil. You've just said that we actually, it turns out, that thing that we thought was unnecessary is necessary. But only because we're limited humans. So a hypodermic needle shot into your leg might hurt. It might hurt for a moment, but the shot itself, ideally, is going to provide you with medication that you need. Well, okay. Well, what was that medication for? Well, let's say it was it was testosterone to reduce swelling in your arm or something. I'm probably gonna have to get a shot in my arm because it's been hurting me for the past few days, and I've been complaining about it bitterly every now and again. So somebody out there's like, yeah, I know what you're talking about, Deacon for Men. You mentioned your arm hurts. Captive Desk knows because I did a fake prayer about it. No aliens or demons have shown up yet that I know of. What's that? No, okay. Just kidding. That was a turkey. That was a turkey. I'm a turkey. Okay, there. Okay. It was the alien demon turkey. No, stop it. Okay, go away. All right. One more time. Okay. Just in case. Okay. All right. Now, 10 more times. No, okay. Nobody beats K. Cleveland for insane evil religiosity. Yeah, probably, yeah. Tell DM. Tell him what? Tell me what? What are you telling me? Tell me that? I guess. Alright. Anyways. I'll have to look at that nitwit at some other point. Right now, this is its nitwit. And I'm not even showing the video anymore. Notice that? I haven't yet brought that back full circle. And maybe I won't. Maybe this will just be explaining how evil it is to try to justify evil via good. We humans are limited beings. So, you know, we we do things and we justify things because of our limitations. So let's say, for example, that and if this is true, don't do this. This is only an example, disclaimer of all sorts. In fact, I'll have to make up a fictional character because I was going to use someone from chat, but now I'm like, as I'm thinking about this example, I'm realizing how bad it is. Okay, lobster. Yes, that will be it. Of course, lobster. I looked at lobster. I saw lobster. Lobster has a house. Lobster is a good friend of mine. Lobster told me a couple days back that he got really, really good fire insurance. In fact, the fire insurance he has is actually more money than he spent on that house. But he loves that house. He has lived in that house his whole life. His parents, you know, bequeathed him that house. They're gone. So the house has memories attached to it, sentimental value. He's lived there his whole life. It's a good house. Sure, the value is not as much as it once was. You know, he put fire insurance on it just so that he could have a place to live. But if that ever happened, he would be just devastated. But he'd be rich. Well, knowing that he'd be rich, being a good friend, I set fire to his house. Now I do so, and I'm a clever man. I do so that I don't get caught. Nobody knows I did it. I make it look like, an accident. Or at least I try to make it look like an accident. Now my friend, Lobster, is crying. But I comfort my friend. Oh, this is terrible to happen. This act of nature. Just so sad. So terrible. Of course, I have to lie to my friend, which is another evil. But still, my friend is rich. I said, but look on the bright side. You're rich now. Of course, this doesn't really console my friend. He doesn't care about the money. He's emotionally devastated. But I love to stay at my place. I feed him the best food he's ever had. I tuck him in. I give him a kiss on his forehead. You know, I'm there night and day for my friend Lobster, and he gets out of his slum, and he walks through the depression cycle, and I get him the world's best therapist in psychology and medicine available, and then we sit down with a lawyer that I paid for, and Okay, what are we going to do with all this money that you now have? And the insurance company paid out. They didn't want to, but they paid out. And they tried some shenanigans, which is why we needed the lawyer. But in the end, they decided it would just be easier to pay out and keep it down low and keep it quiet. And he looks over at the empty lot where once his house stood, and it's like, we'll have to move you somewhere else so you won't see it anymore. You won't be reminded of it, and we could build a memorial there. He said, you know what? That's a good idea. Let's build a memorial hospital so we can help people. And let it be a burn victims unit. Sure. Okay, so we do that. We dedicate it to that. The name of the house had a name, the Lobsterist household. So the Lobsterist Hospital of Mercy and Care for burn unit victim, for specializing in burn victims. And it helps thousands of people, and it does so for like almost no money. It gets any money from the state, sort of stuff, but mostly it is supported by donations and whatever, and it helps all these people and gives all these people jobs and hope. And my friend is so proud of that, so happy now. He's happier than he's been in years, and he misses his home, but he's glad to see that money went to doing something far greater than he ever would had he kept that house. Does that justify that I burned down his house? Your answer, and it's an open question, I'm asking you in chat. Put it in the description as an answer, if you will, please, after this is done. Just reload it, on this page on YouTube a couple times, and then you can put it in a comment. Yes or no? Am I justified in burning down Lobster House, given that we're going to do all this great thing later on? Is it justified? Yes or no? And if you say yes, you might be evil. A little bit. But I'll understand. Because we humans can be a little bit evil. And that's understandable. You might see things a different way than I see things, and that's okay. We can talk about it and discuss it in the comments. But if you say no, it's not justified, that's pretty damn good. And I think, yeah, that's what I would say. Because he didn't need to go through all that pain and suffering, did he? Is there some other way we could have raised the money and built a hospital for burn victims? Sure. And if we had the power and resources to do it, well, we should do it then. And in fact, not doing it might be evil, in that by not doing it, we're not negating the pain and suffering that otherwise we could. So not only is it evil in that we don't need to do it, but it's also evil if we don't do a good thing in a non-evil way when we could have. So then, the God that William Lane Craig talks about is the most evil thing that there can be, because it uses evil to advance good. That God is evil, and therefore, by defending him, William Lane Craig also becomes evil. QED. The ends do not justify the means. They cannot justify the means. That's my stance. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below of this video. Thanks for watching. Hey, I didn't bring back the video. Oh. Right. That would have been a thing. I might do that. Hey, look, it's the video. Okay, let's play a little bit more until I lose my brain. Let's play a new game. We're gonna play a game. How long does it take for Deconverted Man to lose his mind? That's the game. Let's find out. Okay, here we go.
And no one can prove such a thing.
I
So
just
those who
did.
do
I just
defend the
did.
problem of
I
evil
just
today
proved
have
it, you fucking
retreated from the
adder.
logical version.
The answer was about half a millisecond. Thanks for watching, everyone.